Hi everyone, this is Megan Joaquin. This is our 4th class, and today we are going to be talking about choices. Okay, so like we've done every class, we're going to start this one with a commitment. So today, I'm going to choose to be helpful by, now you could choose to be helpful by participating in a discussion with those around you. You could choose to be helpful by choosing to implement the things that we're going to talk about, or you could choose to be helpful by keeping an open mind. Okay, and our power for today is the power of free will. Basically, what this is that each of us is responsible for the way we behave. On the flip side of this, we can't make others behave in certain ways. They must choose for themselves. A lot of times we try to force our children, or other people try to force us to do things, but ultimately no one can really force us to behave a certain way. How many of you are familiar with this phrase, do as we say, not as we do? How many of you have heard this phrase in your own life? I'm sure a lot of us have heard this at least once. We have relied on this style of discipline for way too long. I think sometimes as parents, we might get down to using a phrase like this because we're just tired. We've spent a long day working, or we've spent a long day handling everything our child could possibly need, and sometimes we just want to do something that maybe we don't want our children to do. Like maybe we just want to binge eat a bag of Cheetos, or maybe we just want to watch TV for 3-4 hours. I get that. I love doing those things. I never really feel good after, but I definitely feel good during. But here's the thing, is that most of us don't want our children to do these things, and especially we don't want them to do them on a daily basis. And I think that's why sometimes, we might jump into that phrase of, no, do as I say, not as I do. But here's the thing, is that real power comes from choice and not force. Please don't use the force. When I was working on this class, one thing that I was thinking about a lot was actually comic book heroes. Specifically, I thought of Batman. Now, I hope this won't make anyone want to turn off this video, but I do not like Batman. Personally, I just think that a billionaire who chooses to spend his money on weapons and fancy suits instead of focusing more on charitable work and things like that, it's maybe not the best of all investments. That's all I'll kind of give you of my opinion of Batman. But here's the thing, is that I think most of us know the backstory of Batman, where his parents were shot in an alley in front of him, so obviously incredibly traumatizing. And from there, he eventually, as he grew up, he eventually became, a vigilante who then began to seek justice on behalf of other people. But here's the thing. Batman chose to become a superhero. And Batman also, he also became a hero as a result of not a villain, well, not like a super villain, but of just a regular bad guy. And now that's a big theme in a lot of superhero movies, right? We think Peter Parker from Spider-Man. His Uncle Ben was killed by, and I'm pretty sure it was also a robbery gone wrong. So he was killed by a regular bad guy. And then Peter Parker, yes, was bit by the radioactive spider, which gave him the powers, but he chose to use them. He didn't have to use them. He didn't have to become Spider-Man. Yes, he felt compelled, but he didn't have to do it. And one thing that's common between both Batman and Spider-Man, and really any comic book superhero, is that the more power that they exude, and the more capability, the more that they show themselves to be, these superheroes and these people that vanquish their enemies and achieve justice for all and everything, the more opposition that they have and the more intense their villains become. And so the more that we try to force people to make good choices, or we force them to stop being bad, ultimately there's an opposite reaction where we get more difficult opposition. Now, I know Batman felt really compelled. He thought, okay, my parents are dead, and it's because of an evil person, and that kind of became his mission to, well, keep the city of Gotham safe, and to keep everyone safe from all the possible evil within it. But the thing that really needs to be emphasized is he didn't have to do it. He chose to do it. And here's the thing, is that these superheroes, they treat it as because they have this power or this privilege from wealth, that they have to do these things. And I wonder, since they do believe that they're kind of powerless to then the course that their life takes, is that why none of them have successful romantic relationships? Probably because if they don't feel like they have power over their own lives, then why would they have power in any aspect of their life? Why would they have power in a relationship if they feel like everything's out of their control? Now, as parents, we don't want to feel like when our children act a certain way, say our children are throwing a tantrum, we don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, you're making me angry, or you're making me lose my patience. Because then what? Our child is the supervillain and we're Batman, where we think, oh my gosh, if I just put this child in jail, then everything's good, right? Or if I just destroy this child, then no problems. But that's just not how it works, right? I mean, for one, we love our kids. And we want the best for them. We don't want to put them in jail, and we definitely don't want to destroy them. So why is it that we continue to treat our children in the same way that Batman, say, treats the Joker? Okay, so here's something I propose. Offering your children choices. When we give our kids choices, and I'm not talking clean up your toys or be in timeout. That's not really a choice. That's do what I want or get a punishment. I mean, ultimately the child probably doesn't want to do either, but one is okay, do what I want, or well, you'll do the thing that neither of us want. Who wins? No one. No one wins. So I propose you offer your children choices. When you offer them choices, you give them power over their surroundings. Now, this is the kind of power where they feel like, okay, where they think, I get to do this. And afterwards, they're not going to think things like, Mom made me clean up, or Dad made me do that. No, because if you offer them a choice, say they made a giant mess in their room, you say, okay, you have a choice. You may clean up your stuffed animals first, or you may clean up your magnets first. Which is better for you? Do you hear the difference between you may clean this up, of which one they can clean up first versus have a timeout? I think that Batman feels a lot like he can't just ignore the bad guys, or he can't just not fight them because of the way that they keep coming after him. Now, we love our kids. We want them to grow up to be responsible people, right? And we want them to be happy, but we also want them to be helpful. And I think sometimes it's really hard to help figure out, okay, well, how can I help my child be responsible and helpful and happy while also maintaining a relationship? Use the power of choices. Now, I want to give you an example, and I kind of already did just a little bit, but I want to give you an example of a common choice versus a conscious choice. So the common is okay, you can clean up your toys or I'll throw them away. Where conscious choices, okay, you have a choice. You can clean up your cars first or your magnets first. Which is better for you? And do you notice how the tone of my voice changes? It's not just because I'm trying to emphasize the point, but automatically when I'm reminding my child that they have a choice and I'm really trying to help them be in charge of, their things and their decisions, my voice automatically, it just shifts to a calmer pitch. Where when I think, okay, I'm going to throw them away, then I already know that I'm at that stage where I think, oh my gosh, you're making me do this. This is your fault. Where the other one is, let me help you. Okay, so what I would like you to do is I want you to pause this video for 5 to 10 minutes. I'll leave it up to your discretion. If you are with a partner or if you're in a group, I want you to go ahead and partner up and practice giving each other conscious choices. Go ahead and start with common because they're more common, so they're easier to think of, and rephrase them. If you're watching this alone, go find your child. Maybe practice it real quick with them. It's fine if your child doesn't respond immediately. They may not. But you can just practice or just say it out loud to yourself. Practice phrasing things in a way that really gives children 2 positive choices. All right, well, I hope that worked really well for you, or at least you feel more comfortable and like you're understanding a little bit better how to offer positive choices to your kids. There's a couple of things that I would like to share when it comes to the skill of making choices. Children's brains process information really, really slowly. So it's important that when you give your children choices, give them time to understand and repeat yourself if necessary. Typically, as a rule, I try not to repeat myself more than 3 times with my 3-year-old daughter. Occasionally I do more, but I try not to because at that point I just get frustrated and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not gonna work anymore. But really, children do take a long time to understand things. So if you want them to be able to make a choice, you gotta give them time. And part of the reason that children take a long time to arrive at decisions is maybe one, they don't love either of the options you give them. Like, maybe they would prefer that you say, would you rather watch TV or play on the iPad instead of would you rather clean up your trucks or your cars? Sure. And so they might be thinking, oh, well, I don't know what to choose. Both are boring. I don't like that. And that's okay. They are still positive choices because you as a parent are okay with both. I mean, of course, you want your kid to clean up. What does it matter which of their toys they clean up first? Both are good, right? And also it's technically, it's considered they're considered positive choices because you're not trying to force them into something by offering a punishment. You're just letting them know, okay, this is, you have a choice. And then they feel like, okay, I get to pick that. Okay, now imagine if Alfred, that's Batman's butler, I guess, kind of his best friend. Anyway, imagine if he had come to Batman, say like around the very beginning of when Batman became Batman, and say Batman was dating someone, and Alfred gave him the choice, okay, Batman, would you rather go on your date, or would you rather fight the Joker? Now, from what we know about Batman feels like he has to always fight the villains, and so he feels like he has no choice. But here's the thing, that if Alfred comes and presents him with a choice, it changes things for Batman. He thinks, oh, well, I think I'd rather go on a date, or maybe he'd rather go fight Joker, who knows. But then it changes. It changes how he sees it, because if he then chooses to fight the Joker, he doesn't think, oh, I have to fight the Joker. He thinks, yeah, I chose to fight the Joker. Yeah, I'm here. And the same thing happens for our kids. Okay, so when you're giving your children positive choices and you're giving them time to understand, I just want to point out that pointing is also really, really helpful, especially for those of you with kids under age 5. Sometimes they don't remember the words, the names of things, or they remember them wrong. My 3-year-old can't seem to remember that the name for bridges is not bench, and every time she crosses a bridge, or she's pretending that she's playing with a bridge, she says, "Okay, I'm going to cross the bench." And I've corrected her a couple of times, but it's always, "Okay, let's cross the bench." So sometimes kids forget the names of things. So if you tell them, "Okay, would you rather pick up your cars or pick up your trucks?" Maybe in that moment they're like, what is a car? And even if they seem to have known it for, maybe it was their first word, then they've been saying it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, how do you not know what that is? It's your favorite thing in the world." Maybe their brain temporarily freezes. That happens to me sometimes. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've been in a conversation with someone and I'm trying to form this really beautiful sentence, and then all of a sudden I forget a word, and I'm like, happened to me once when I was trying to explain to one of my coworkers that I was going to withdraw money, and I ended up telling her, I'm going to ATM it out, because that's all I could come up with. If that happens to me as an adult, it undoubtedly happens to our little children who think that bridges are called benches. So go ahead and say, "Okay, would you rather clean up your trucks first or your cars first?" And your point. Always use as much pointing as you need to. Maybe not right in their faces, but definitely right at their toys. So something that will likely happen, hopefully not every time you're trying to give your child choices, but a lot of the time, because being a child is hard, is your child's voice is going to get bigger or louder, and they might cry, they may tantrum a little bit, because really, even though you're offering it to them in a way that's really positive, it's not like any child's ever going to be excited about, "Yeah, clean up my toys, clean up my toys." I mean, and if they are, then, well, go ahead and turn off this video. I don't think you need this class. I don't think you need anything I can tell you. You figured it out. But on the occasions where it is difficult for your child, the most important thing that you can do is just remain calm. So like we talked about in our previous class, is like our brains naturally adapt to the emotions of other people. And so if our children get really, 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 really stressed, we as adults have to make a very conscious and strong effort to not follow them into that place of stress. So we have to do our star, stop, or smile, take a deep breath, feel that in your diaphragm, and relax. Do anything necessary to keep yourself calm. Yes, it is frustrating and it is annoying when our children make gigantic messes and then they act like, "No, it's too hard and horrible to clean up." Yeah, it's super frustrating. I totally understand. Very frustrating for me. But if we want them to calm to the point where they get in their brain state where they're like, "Okay, I can make a choice," then we need to show them what to do. And we need to provide that calm so that their brains and their emotional state will adjust to ours rather than us adjusting to them. Because if we just let ourselves get angrier and angrier and angrier and we yell at them, eventually, when they're crying that we yelled at them, what might we say? We might say, "You made me yell at you. You wouldn't clean up your toys, and then I had to yell at you because you wouldn't stop crying." But did our children make us yell at them? Did they somehow manipulate our vocal cords until a yell came out? No, that's impossible. And if that ever were possible, it wouldn't be a child who would figure that out. What really happens is that we get so stressed out by our child's actions that we choose not to calm ourselves, and we allow ourselves to lose control until we yell. And so when we say, oh, you made me yell, what we really are, what we really mean is, I chose to yell because I couldn't calm myself down, or I chose not to calm myself down. Okay. So another way that your child might have a hard time making a choice, and I personally see this from my daughter most often, is I will offer her choices, and a lot of times she'll just kind of and not say anything. Or I'll say, okay, would you rather buckle yourself in your car seat, or do you want me to buckle you? And she might be like, nothing. I'm like, nothing? That's not an option. Why are you smart enough to think of an option I didn't give you? What the heck? Or, it's something like, no, I don't want it. I don't want to. I don't need to. I want to play. She'll say all kinds of things to get out of it. So here's the thing, is that at this point, I've already tried saying it to her a couple of times. I've given her time to process what I've said. And I stayed calm. And likely she's still like, no, I don't want to. And so I think, okay, we're really not getting anywhere. And I need you to be in your car seat because I've got to get to work at some point, right? So at this point, what you can say is, you're having a hard time choosing. I will choose for you. And then in this specific instance, I would say, I will buckle you in your car seat. And usually one of two things happens. She's like, no. And then she'll jump in her car seat and be like, I buckle, and then she'll do it. Or she'll resist more and she'll be upset, but that's okay. I mean, it is unfortunate when it happens, but children aren't always ready to go somewhere when we need them to, and sometimes we just have to go. Okay, so here's an activity that I would like you to do. I'd like you to take at least 10 minutes on this one. So if you're in a group, go ahead and work as a group or pair up. But what this is there are a bunch of sentences here, and they're written in a way that is, from the examples earlier, I said one was common and one was conscious. These are all of the phrases that we might use where we make it seem like we didn't have a choice, or we don't have a choice, or our child has control. So I went ahead and filled in the first one. So the first one says, when you are quiet, I can begin. Now, when we phrase something like that, we say, oh, when you are quiet, that means that we can't do anything until our child is doing something. Now, that's really not true. We can begin whether or not they're quiet for most things, right? So I went ahead and I rewrote it as, I'm going to begin. Be quiet now, please. And that way, it doesn't depend on whether or not the child is quiet. It's just, I'm going to begin. And then I used an assertive command. Just be quiet now, please. Okay, so go ahead and look over that and think of a rewrite for all of them and take at least 10 minutes. Okay, go. All right. Well, I hope that activity was really good for all of you. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about language of powerlessness versus language of responsibility and choice. So, the language of powerlessness is something that sounds like, don't make me pull this car over, where language of responsibility and choice is, I'm going to pull this car over until everyone is buckled and is safe. Or, I have to get a haircut. Look how long this hair is. Or you could say, I could get a haircut. Now do you hear the difference? So with the first one, don't make me, it's the same as when Batman gets out there and he says, oh my gosh, Joker exists, therefore I have to fight him. Someone else could fight Joker. The city of Gotham has a police force. Why does Batman have to be there? He doesn't. He's choosing to be there. But He always seems to make it sound in a way as if because Joker exists, or because Penguin exists, or because Two-Face exists, he has to fight them. He can't just leave it to the police. What Batman should really say, instead of I have to fight Joker, is I'm going to fight Joker because I want to keep Gotham safe. The same. I'm going to pull this car over so I can make sure you're safe. Or I'm going to help you clean your shirt or change your shirt because it is dirty. Not, we need to clean, you need to change that shirt. It is dirty. Or you have to change that shirt. No. Does your child have to? Not necessarily. Or do I have to get a haircut? Some of you might think I do, but I could get a haircut. I could just choose to grow my hair out. But really, the important thing is that we're aware of the language that we're using, because the language that we use influences so much of how we respond to our children. And when we offer them choices, we need to make sure that we feel that we are in control. And I know that it's really difficult to do as parents, because I think a lot of us kind of get in that choice fatigue. Because as adults, we seem to make like 400 decisions a day, it seems like. Where for our kids, I really think that for them, sometimes it's really exciting when they're offered a choice. Because one, they don't make 400 choices a day, so they feel powerful a little bit. It's also sometimes why they might be a little bit slower to actually make a decision, because for them, they spend more time trying to weigh the pros and cons. They might think, okay, picking up my cars or my trucks first? Which one is better for me? I don't know. I don't want to make the wrong choice, because one might not be as good as the other. And sometimes and some kids really, really do like to, they take a long time to arrive at a decision, because so many things for them it just feels like high stakes. Just like I might, if I say were to receive a job offer, I might take a long time to think, okay, should I stay in my current position, or should I work in this new place? Which is better for me? And I might, I would likely weigh, oh, well, this one has this one has that. And our children act the same way, sometimes even with things as simple as, should I pick up my cars first? My trucks first? So I encourage all of you to start implementing the skill of positive choices with your children. I promise you that the more that you work to implement this, the more you will see your children trying to be helpful and trying to make choices and trying to be more responsible. Well, thank you for watching. That concludes our class on positive choices. This is Megan Joaquin signing off.